Hello, everyone. Welcome to our third webinar hosted by Women of Bits. Today's webinar is based on product management. We have Anushka Pathak with us, who is currently working as an associate product manager at Flipkart. And recently, she got an admit from IIM Calcutta with a CAT percentile of 99.92% percentile. And she has been the head of Department of Sponsorship and Marketing as well. She has won various competitions like the Hilti IT competition, which was held in Malaysia, student startup exposure program by Rajasthan government, through which she got to go to many networking programs in other countries. She also has work experience at Unacademy, Hilti Malaysia, Pixel, and Schneider. Welcome, Anushka.
Hello. Hi, guys. Nice to be here. Yeah, thanks for having me.
So let's start. We'll be first covering the questions that we got in the general Q&A through the Google form, and then we will move on to the audience Q&A. All the people viewing this webinar can type their questions in the chat box. We will be taking care of them eventually. So let's start. So for everyone, Anushka, can you please tell us what product management exactly is, and like what does a day in the life of a product manager look like?
Cool. So, as a product manager, what you're doing at a very basic level is that you're solving problems using technology. So, you might be doing it using, say, you're doing it using products. So, you can be doing it using, say, a physical product. So, that might be like building an alarm clock, but for blind people. So, that's a problem solving exercise, right? Or you might be doing it using software products. A product manager essentially works at the junction of three things, that's business, design, and technology or engineering. So you essentially collaborate with people from all these different departments. So your business might be people, of course, from general management, but people like people from marketing, people from operations. So that's how you position your product. That's how you understand your users' needs. You work with engineering to actually implement what design comes up with. So you kind of work together with all of these three segments, and you come up with products to solve problems. I The entire journey of the life cycle of a product can kind of be divided in two parts. So the first part is where you kind of strategize and you ideate the product. So that's a problem solving part. So of course, a precursor to that is actually finding the problems. So you essentially look at data, you talk to people, and you realize what kind of problems you would want to solve. There's a huge overlap with consulting here. So apart from just having the difference that you're working in tech, a big difference between consulting and product management is the implementation part. So initially, you just understand your customers, you understand what their needs are, and you come up with all these plans where you're like, okay, this is the kind of product I would want to build. You do it in a structured way, of course. So you come up with all the smaller features that you would want to include in this product. And then the next stage in a life cycle of a product is to actually implement it. So you would work with, say, design, engineering, and you would actually execute it and take it to launch. Post launch, you would iterate on whatever data you get from the launch. So you might be meeting your goals, you might not be meeting your goals. And then you iterate to ensure that you keep solving your customers or your users' needs in the best way possible, while also having huge business impact. Because, of course, why do we solve these problems? Like, at the end of the day, we want our business to do well. So yeah, essentially you strategize and then you also work with other parts of your organization to implement it. When you talk about the day-to-day work of a product manager's life, that's not something that's constant, that changes very dynamically. So it largely depends on the size of the organization you are in. So if you're at a startup, you might be taking broader responsibilities, right? If you're at a larger organization, say like I'm at Flipkart, so every product manager would be owning certain metrics. So metrics are essentially just business numbers. So maybe I want customers who come onto my platform to spend more money, or I want them to buy more things. I want them to come more often. So a product manager would usually own something like this, and then try to solve to improve or like decrease these metrics, basically whatever is best for the business. At a startup, of course, you have broader problem statements. Also, another thing that decides what your day-to-day product manager work looks like is also the life cycle of the product. So early in the product, when I've just been given a very broad problem statement, so it's like, say some company comes to me and says you have to open an online pharmacy. So at this point, I'm just talking to other product people, maybe some business people. I'm having meets and I'm brainstorming, right? So when I'm not in meetings where I'm brainstorming and talking to stakeholders, trying to understand the constraints I have, the kind of resources I have, the timeline I have, I would be documenting and writing and researching. So that's what a product manager's day would look like early in the product life cycle. But as you move on, a large part of your work would just be communicating. So you'll be communicating with all the different stakeholders. You'll be communicating with your users at every point to understand if the needs have changed, if they like what you've built so far. And around the launch, a lot of it is firefighting because, of course, like we plan and then things don't go the way they're supposed to. So yeah, then at that point, a lot of it is just a lot of firefighting work and trying to change your plans according to how things happen, and then iterating on that, collecting feedback, closing it up, passing it on to the next person. So yeah.
So, Anushka, you mentioned a lot of words like a mixture of tech and consulting. So, what kind of background do they look at while hiring a product manager? Like, is it very consulting specific or tech specific or some other backgrounds also? Could you shed some light on that?
Right. So there's a common joke that we had at Flipkart. Like when people used to ask this, they used to give an example of this guy who had a manufacturing degree. He's from BITS, a manufacturing degree and a 4.8 CG, and he made it. So essentially, they're not looking at your branch. Like I have a senior, he's a senior product manager, and he has a degree in law. He's never written a single line of code in his entire life. So I mean, if you look at the requirements of the job, you're supposed to be good at identifying problems, good at solving problems, good at communicating. Uh, those are not something that's specific to your branch or your field of study as such. Those are skills that you can have or build outside of your studies as well. So I'd say it's branch agnostic or even like field of study agnostic. You don't really have to be from engineering. Of course, it's a big plus. Like if you do have some tech exposure, that'll help you. But apart from that, yeah, it doesn't really matter. They do not look at your, like, I can say this with confidence, at least with a lot of organizations, they will not be looking at your GPA or your branch. But yeah, if you do have tech knowledge, that will probably help you at some point during the process.
So, as far as I got to know from your answer, like it's nothing very specific that they want these specific requirements and that will satisfy their criteria. So, I maybe there might be some soft skills that they're expecting. Could you shed some light on that?
Yeah, sure. So, like I said, you need. What does it mean to be a good problem solver? You need to be able to approach a problem in a very repeatable and standard way. You need to be able to break it down into structured parts, right? So you need to know exactly how you would break it down, and you can't have like a haphazard or brainstorming sort of approach. So you can't say that this is my intuition. That's not something that you do when you're solving a problem. If you okay, so like you need to be able to solve problems in a structured way, and then again, that's not something that's dependent on say your branch or your GPA or whatever. Apart from that, yeah, communication forms a large part of product management, and that's something that they'll be looking at during your interview. So say, of course, you do have on-campus opportunities, but say if you apply off-campus, how do you actually grab their attention? How do you write those mails? Do you send a deck? How do you present the deck? So presentation forms a large part of product management. I think that's especially important because there's this you must have heard of this line that says a product manager is the CEO of the product, right? So on some levels, that's true because you're responsible and you're completely accountable for the responsibility you've been given. So they don't care if you're 1 month out of college, but if you are responsible for something and it goes wrong, you will be held accountable. So that's where you're kind of the CEO in the sense that you are entirely responsible for this thing, but that hierarchy doesn't exist. So like it's a common misconception that, okay, since I'm a product manager, I get to go to the engineering guy and say that, next Monday tak ye chahiye, kar dena. The guy can ask you to, like, he doesn't have to do it. There is no hierarchy. You're not this guy's manager. You're a product manager, right? So as a product manager, you need to be able to convince all the stakeholders involved, the engineers, the designers, that this point that you thought of is worth spending their time on. They need to be excited about it so that they give it their best. You need to be able to convince business that they should be allocating all these resources to you. You sometimes the business side person might come up to you and put in constraints that are unreasonable. So you need to be able to communicate to these people that I'm sorry, my engineering people cannot deliver this at this point of time. So when you're talking about communication like that, one of the main skills a product manager should have is to be convincing and be able to clearly communicate everything so that there are no misunderstandings at any point. So yeah, so when it comes to soft skills, work on your presentation, work on being concise, using the right words when you're communicating a solution, and mainly focus on the problem solving skills, because that is what they will be focusing on throughout the recruitment process. Yeah.
So Anushka, like a lot of people had asked about how you worked, how you got an opportunity to work at such big names. Like you've worked at Hilti, you've worked at Unacademy, Schneider. So how did you get these opportunities, and how did they help you eventually in getting the Flipkart APM role?
Right. So initially, when I started out in college, like my branch is Triple E, I was really into automation. So I think like I've had all the approaches that people have for getting internships apart from campus placements. So the first one, I reached out to an employer, I got a referral. That's something that's like if you're looking specifically at product internships, this is one of the most standard approaches. You have to be able to you can just reach out to people on say LinkedIn and yeah, basically convince them that you are good for this role. One input I have here is that do not like your resume doesn't matter as much. So you're supposed to be communicating your problem solving skills. The best way you can do this is to actually talk about the product. So say you're applying at Spotify, you should be able to articulate what it is exactly that you like about Spotify as a product. So if you compare it to say a competitor, or a change that they made in the last month, they added a new feature, talk about it. Talk about things that you do not like. So Spotify has just a dark mode, like maybe I want a light mode as well, why that would actually matter, stuff like that, right? And if you can actually identify a problem or some sort of an innovation that you would make in the product and justify that with some data points, or basically just give a justification for it, that will strengthen your case a lot. So I know people who have gotten entire jobs, PM jobs out of this. So for an internship, especially like I think this would be a good approach. So if you are reaching out to them, when I reached out to Schneider, I talked about my projects. But if you do reach out to anybody for a product internship, do send a deck, even if it's just 2 slides, or write it down in the email. Talk about the product. Mm. The next one was Pixel. That's something a senior connected me to. So I had a senior who had worked with the team before, and he thought we would be a good match. I think the only takeaway from this is that you kind of need to have a network. Just, I mean, like if you're still in your second year or third year, whatever, like if you still have some years in college, try to be involved in as many things as you can, have connections, and let them know that you're open to opportunities at any point of time, right? Like your seniors will help you out, your batches will help you out. When it came to Hilti, that was via competition. So again, like competitions are a really good way of generally breaking into stuff. So even if you're actually not winning or making it to the finals of these competitions, it takes a few tries. I'm not gonna lie. So I have 2 wins on my resume, but there are like 15 competitions that I did not even make it to the finals of, right? It takes a few tries before you actually figure out what these people look for. And then you also need to know how to exactly solve problems and present them. That's a big skill you gain when you work on competitions, whether they're tech or non-tech. In addition to that, you actually get to know how to work with a team, and that's a really important point. And that's also something that's really hard to convey in an interview, because koi bhi jayega interview mein, they're going to be like, yeah, I work well with the team. How do you actually prove that? So you get to say that, right? You say that I've worked with a developer before, I've worked with a designer before, and we worked well, we won a competition. So that's a really good thing that adds to your resume. So I'd say that, yeah, like if you can kind of, if you're still early in college, especially if you can kind of build a team where you have complementary skill sets, somebody knows development, somebody knows designing, do that and participate in as many competitions as you can. The internship was kind of a bonus. Like the prizes come and go, but the experience you get, that lasts you longer, right? The connections last you longer because when you make it to the whatever finals or whatever stage of these competitions, you actually get to make a lot of new connections, because now I know some random VP of engineering, some random country. I mean, it's not exactly useful to me right now, but you never know when that's going to cash out, right? Plus, it does give you that experience. Like you've talked to people. If I've talked to a Chinese CEO before, I'm going to be much more comfortable when I talk to a senior product manager in Flipkart. So that actually shows. Yeah, I mean, failed startups are a great thing. Like whether you talk about it or not in your resume, just for the experience, that's something you should try. Don't be scared of trying out new stuff. So coming to Unacademy, by this point, so Unacademy was this summer. It's a I work for Graphy, which is a startup inside Unacademy. So the team, the HR, all of it is the same. The founders are also the same, and it's kind of funded within Unacademy. It's just a new product line, right? So by this point, my profile was strong enough that I was getting internship offers samne se. So I wasn't actually looking for internship actively, but my LinkedIn profile was complete. I made sure that everything that I have to pitch, I have pitched on there. And my visibility was high because I did have a large number of connections thanks to Spawns. So at this point, I got an offer from an academy myself. So like at that point, it was a no-brainer because my job was delayed by 2 months, and this was a product role as well, and I hadn't done a product internship. So this would kind of give me experience in product before I joined. So again, like this is not something that's going to happen in your second or third year, but after a point, if you do have a profile that's strong enough, I've gotten multiple internship offers on LinkedIn. If your visibility is high and if your LinkedIn profile is strong, you will be getting offers from companies themselves, and good companies at that, good roles. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Anushka, like, can you tell us about in what capacity you participated in competitions? Like, was it in a product manager kind of role, or like a tech role or ideator role? Can you tell us about that?
Right. So ideator is not exactly a role. I mean, that's something that happens in the beginning, and you can't be an ideator for the rest of the competition, right? But essentially, yeah, that's how I kind of started out. I don't do development. I do not have any programming skills. But I kind of picked design along the way because we did not have a designer in our team. The people I generally participated with, none of us were like exceptionally good at design. Yeah, sure. So I would at that point I wouldn't have called it product, but that is what I was working on. So I was essentially working on what features the solution needs to have, how would the solution be presented, and a large part of what I did was the actual presentation and communication part, right? So in retrospect, that was product, but I did not have this sort of information when I was going into these competitions. So I did not give it that name. But like if you are going into competitions, it's possible like you can go into it with that mindset ki, theek hai, I'll be looking at the product. That's really hard to do at a college level because you do not have that clear division of labor. Like even the developer will have product inputs, the designer will have product inputs. Do not worry about that right now. Okay? Just try to go into it for the fun of it. So somebody asked me what competitions. Can you please tell me some names? Okay. So one thing that I generally looked at was that I would not participate in a competition that's going to see 10,000 teams because I need to see a realistic chance of winning. I mean, fun and all, okay, but so you every month you will have at least 5 or 6 good international competitions going on. There are some websites. There's Agora, there is Hero X. Then of course you have the Indian ones that's there to compete. There's the one that Schneider is hosted on. I forgot the name. Just go look at Schneider's Go Green, and they're hosted on this one website. I forgot the name. Okay. So essentially, you just find the aggregators first instead of finding the individual competitions and subscribe to them. So you'll eventually keep seeing these competitions. Another thing is that I won both the competitions, plus I made it the finals of a lot more with the exact same product. Yeah, I'll come to that. So with the exact same product. So it was a product that we kind of iterated and matured over 2 years. So that kind of, I mean, it's pretty hard to get product internships when you're in college because, like, you must have heard from the role itself. You're talking about communicating with multiple stakeholders and solving problems. That's not something a college student would be doing really well. I might as well get somebody who's more experienced, right? So, building your own product is one of the best ways to do that. A good side of that is that you can kind of take the same product to multiple competitions, talk about it as a startup. So the product that won us both these competitions was also incubated at Pilani's incubation centers. We had an office and everything, right? So it kind of counts as a startup, though I don't call it a startup in my resume or anywhere. Uh, but yeah, if you kind of narrow down 3 or 4 areas that you're interested in, say NLP or computer vision, or maybe you don't want any cutting edge technology, maybe you want to work in supply chain. So if you identify 3-4 areas, think over a few weeks, think of some innovations that you can maybe find first 2-3 competitions to actually help you pick. So if there's a supply chain competition, you have experience in that, you can get started and eventually work and mature that product over, say, a few competitions. Or even if not a competition, you might be doing it for yourself. That's first-hand experience into product management. That's extremely valuable in terms of learnings. And 3, if that makes it to your resume, that's going to be a great talking point in these interviews, right? So that's your track record. So when you say contact Spotify कि मुझे associate product manager ले लो, you can tell them कि see, this is something I've done in the past, and this is the track record. I talked about it to these 5 investors. They said it's really good. I won a competition with it. It got incubated in Pilani. That person knows you have made an attempt to solve problems and you've been successful at it. So that's one decision. They don't have to make it themselves, right? They have certain validation. They've heard about it. So they're going to be trusting you more with those skills. So yeah.
So Anushka, you mentioned that we don't get product management internships while in college. So competitions is one thing to build our path towards product management. What else would you suggest?
What?
What else would you suggest?
Right. I didn't say you wouldn't get product management internships. It's just much harder because if you look at any organization, generally the product to engineering or product to coding role ratio is going to be 1:10, right? So for every 10 engineers, you have 1 product manager. So it's just much harder to get those roles. Plus, they do not expect you to have the maturity and the autonomy as a student, right? But if you can bag one of those roles, that's brilliant. I mean, product management is not something you can learn from reading a book. You're not going to find any how to product manage books either. Like, that's something that you actually learn on the job. So I would say that if you can find an internship, even in a startup, like, it doesn't have to be a big brand name. If it's something up and coming, if it's just 4 people, if it's just seniors from college, go for it. Okay? Because even if it's just the initial phase of ideation and everything, that exposure counts for way more than actually just reading. Apart from that, yeah, the next best thing I can do is to develop a product independently, probably build a portfolio, probably see if you don't know code, you can't find a coder. There are a lot of no-code tools, right? Check out Bubble. Okay, I'll just say this now. There was a blinder thing that came out a while back, right? There was a blind dating thing. That's something that 3 of us built in one day, and none of us know how to code. And we did that because I had 1 week left to my job and I didn't have anything to do. So I was like, "Okay, kuch bana sakte." And then I got busy with my job. I'm not working on it anymore. So it's okay. Just don't be scared to go out with the product. Like, think of a B2C product, build it. That thing took 0 code. That thing took around 12 hours to build, and we got 1,200 users in 3 days. Okay. And we did not do much publicity. Like, before this, I did not attach my name publicly to it. Right? So don't be scared to actually make a product just for the sake of learning. You're not trying to build a startup. You're not you're not trying to win a competition, but it's okay to actually just think of a simple idea. Take a user set कि ठीक है इसमें problem क्या है ये वाले users का, what's the simplest product I can build in the fastest amount of time, and actually come up with that. So as an exercise, that will be good for you, and you'll also be learning a lot. like you actually have to get hands-on is what I'm trying to say. You have to actually go out there and build products. If you don't get an internship, do it regardless. Do not waste your time. Say 2 months to just build something.
Right. So, Anushka, could you tell us what the scenario of product management roles is right after college? Like, especially when it comes to companies on campus, for companies that come for on campus placements.
Right. So I mean, I think a lot of you might already know this, but on campus you do not have a lot of product roles. I mean, last year you didn't, at least not as much as people would want. But so I think the only one I was registered for placement in SEM 2. I got placed in Flipkart, which was an open company SEM 1. So I did not actually go through the placement cycle at all. Right. So I don't know much about the product roles. I know a few friends who got placed in product roles. So there was Free Charge, the product role. There's MechMocha. I think there were certain not product management roles, but say product analyst roles, etc. But I think again, like I don't know what the placement scene is like this year. The roles are pretty. हाँ ठीक है ले लो.
Hey guys, Shinank here. I was in the placement unit last year. Sorry to interrupt, Miloni. Right. Yeah. So Anushka is right on most parts. There are some companies which do come to campus for the product roles. We don't. It's hard to call the larger companies for product roles because I think Anushka will probably elaborate on this. They have a different structure to the product teams. They are not. They are very specific, domain-specific product teams. We don't call startups to campus because we are very apprehensive about how they recruit and how they sustain. Even the job offers which were revoked this year have only been from startups. So we are generally very apprehensive about this. So we don't really call them to campus. Not saying that this won't change in the upcoming years. Product management is a domain which is very hotly being contested right now. So yeah, we have our eyes on it. The current PO and the next PO definitely will. But yeah, so far we have not had product management roles because the larger firms look for more specialization. They look for MBAs. I mean, if you go to LinkedIn and have a look at JDs of a lot of these PM roles in any firm, you will see a lot of specialization required. Even in management, because as Anushka said, these are very intense roles. A lot of negotiation and a lot of communication is required. So they don't usually bet on undergrads. So yeah, that would be my contribution. That's it.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think that sums it up. All I'll say is that like the on-campus roles are very competitive. Like they don't recruit many people. But you should feel free to actually apply off campus, though it sounds like a daunting process. Like actually going out in the open and applying for these roles off campus sounds daunting, but like I said, if you actually make those decks and you make an attempt to catch the person's attention with your product understanding and display your skills well enough, it is a possibility. I know a lot of seniors who have actually bagged good product roles at well-known good brands. So you should be able to go out in the open and actually solicit these roles from companies.
Thank you, Sashank. That was very insightful. Anushka, how did you prepare for the Flipkart APM role? I'm assuming there are a lot of people here who are preparing for the product management role during the placement. So that will be very helpful if you can tell us.
Right. So I'll just get you started. Yeah. So I'm covering that right now, Rashmita. There are the first round is of course the deck. That's where you actually come up with the product innovation, show your problem solving skills and presentation skills firsthand. But for any product recruitment cycle, there are three types of questions, primarily three types of questions that are asked. So the first being guesstimate. So that's like how many tennis balls can fit into an international flight, right? Or how many ACs do you have in Bangalore, stuff like that. The next one you have is product thinking. So product thinking is something that happens from scratch. So they would like to see how you actually come up with the product, what kind of innovations you bring in, how much do you actually think about the end users persona? Can you empathize with them? Can you think about their pain points? And how do you basically build in the constraints? How do you prioritize? So an example of a product thinking question would be, you want to start an online pharmacy. How would you do that? So the best way to go about something like this is to compare it to an offline process. What do I do when I need to buy medicines in real life? I get a prescription. I go to a pharmacist. I show them the prescription, right? So how they would be looking at how you kind of build that entire flow and kind of integrate the whole prescription point into normal e-commerce. Do you use innovative technologies such as computer vision? Do you check for plagiarism? Do you check for photoshopping? Do you actually get this person to get the prescription and get it scanned or take a photo, or do you connect to the doctors directly? So a doctor can mail it to you, so you don't actually have to check if this is right or not, right? What about people who are coming for Crocin? So should I start off with asking for a prescription, or should I ask, do you want a prescription drug, Ayurvedic drug? So stuff like that. They look at how you think and what's the end product that you come up with. Does it actually solve the problem? So that's product thinking. That's type 2. The third one would be your product case solving, right? So that's when they give you a product and they give you a very specific part of it, like a specific problem that you have to work on. So for an example for this would be that you are a product manager at Uber, and recently you've been getting a lot of low ratings with the comments that I don't like the search pricing, right? So how do you fix this? Now, you have to be very structured, and you have to show them how you think end-to-end and exhaustively, and drill down into the problem to actually identify the cause. So if anyone's prepared for consulting here, you would know that this is very, very similar to a consulting interview. But except that the context differs here slightly. You're talking about products and it's slightly more tech-oriented, but it's pretty much the same, apart from product thinking, of course, that happens from scratch. For guesstimates, I was also preparing for consulting alongside. I was sitting for the open consulting companies. That really helped me with the guesstimates. So for guesstimates, I would actually recommend Case Interviews Cracked. It's an Indian book. I think some IIT Bombay kids wrote it. So they have some pretty good approaches to guesstimates. For Gen product management, when you're trying to prepare, there are two very standard books. There's Cracking the PM Interview, and then there's Decoding the PM Interview. I personally like Decoding better. You don't have to read these books end to end. I'd recommend that you actually read one or two interviews, one or two examples, and then practice the rest of them with people. And I cannot stress on this enough. Reading interviews or reading product cases will not help you. Like, that's not something that's going to check how good you are or get better. You have to practice it with people. So the best way to do it, of course, is to, like, if you can form groups of 2 or 3 with your friends, people who are interested, like, reach out to random people. It's okay. Like, when I was practicing cases, I talked to people I'd never talked to in the previous 4 years in college, right? I just knew they were into PM. So either they would reach out to me, I would reach out to them and be like, do you want to do a case together? Or like, maybe I'll give you a mock interview, you give me one. So people will always be up for it. You should be open to these. And try to do these cases with people, because they'll actually, once you're both the sides, actually, the interviewee and the interviewer side, you'll actually see how this pans out, how you think, and how you perform when you're solving these cases live, as opposed to reading them. Okay, so the best resource for this is, so this Cracking and Decoding are actually international books. A lot of them do not fit into the Indian context at all. Per se, we're talking about APM, we're not talking about PM, so you might not be as exhaustive as a PM. But the rule of thumb to take in these interviews is that you're supposed to be as good, that they're not going to be differentiating and being like, theek hai, iska easy hone do, because he's an undergrad, right? There's this book called Preparing for Product Interviews. It's an Indian book. It was written by a senior of mine at Flipkart APM. It's pretty good. Do not waste the cases. There are not many in it. So you have product thinking rounds, you have product case rounds. Try to read, like, just read one max. Practice the rest of them with people. Try to find gaps in your thinking. Try to find your shortcomings. And if you can, the best way to go about it is to get interviews. After you've done a few rounds with your friends, find people who are actually in PM to give you interviews. So, like, that's like me or anybody you know, and anybody who's willing to help you out. So if you can actually reach out to somebody who's working in product management, they'll be able to give you inputs that your peers won't, right? So that's how I prepared. Most of it was live interviews. A very important thing that helped me in PM, CAT, whatever, was reading as much as you like. Read as much as you can. Try to follow certain. There are tech publications. There's like India, mein there's the Ken. There's this international publication called The Hustle. So they're not very product specific, but generally just knowing what tech innovations are happening will help you be innovative when you're answering normal product questions, right? And do not underestimate the amount of innovation that's expected out of you, because one of my questions was design a login flow. And that question took me 1.5 hours. So a login flow seems extremely trivial and easy. Like, what do? You have a username, password. Worst case, you have 2-factor authentication. You have an OTP. So that's a flow, right? That's pretty much it. There's a sign-up flow adjacent to it. But if you try to actually get into it, if you start talking about people who have bad internet or people who are illiterate, people who have phones that aren't great. So once you start getting all these constraints in, you're talking about innovations, and it gets really hard. And that's something like if you generally keep up with tech reading, you'll do well. So yeah, generally just read as much as you can about products. I've heard Twitter is a really good resource, though I'm not very active on there, but the product management community on Twitter is really active. And yeah, these books should be able to get you started.
So were you required to have any sort of technical knowledge to clear these interviews and to prepare for this role?
So this is a very, very common question that keeps cropping up. It crops up even now, like after we've joined. So when we are getting allocated teams or when we are picking teams to join within the organization, people get really scared when they hear stuff like machine learning. So they're like, I don't have any previous experience in this. I haven't ever worked in machine learning, right? Again, you need to understand that you are not expected to actually be coding or building anything. So as long as you understand what's happening, so you should be able to understand what an algorithm does, what the expected outcomes are. So once the algorithm works, you need to be able to say, "Ki, this did well or this didn't." You don't actually have to know how to implement the algorithm. So I won't say that you're not expected to have tech knowledge. You should just generally be comfortable with understanding tech. So if I ask you how the internet works or how does WhatsApp work, even if you don't know it right now, once you read a solution, you should be comfortable enough to understand ki kya ho raha hai. So this is how basically the internet works. Or see, essentially, you will not be building the neural network model, but you should know how would I know if a neural network model is good or not. And that's a very non-tech thing. You're talking about metrics, right? So like you'll be talking about trade-offs in the sense that, okay, if this neural network model gives me a better result in terms of this, is it compromising on this? And is that bad for my product? So that's the extent of technical knowledge you're supposed to have. You should be able to work with engineering folks. You should not be daunted by technical terms. But no, you're not actually expected to know coding or machine learning or whatever.
Could you give us a brief walkthrough of your Flipkart APM rounds?
Achha, theek hai. Just before that, there's this book called Swipe to Unlock. I'll write it down here. Okay, so if you're absolutely clueless when it comes to tech, you haven't done any tech reading in the past, and you just generally feel like you don't understand very basic stuff, like how does WhatsApp work? This is a very high-level overview of tech stuff. It's a very fun read too. It's a very non-demanding, leisurely read, something you can finish in a couple of days. So just give that book a shot. And that's pretty much the extent of technical knowledge that's expected from you, not beyond that. Okay? Okay, so you're talking about the rounds through Flipkart. So the first one, of course, is the deck round. So I worked on a problem. I picked YouTube as my product. So you'll have a problem statement. You're supposed to make a presentation. That problem statement should come out in a couple of months, within the next couple of months. It's called Swipe to Unlock. I put it on the chat. Yeah. Okay, so the first one is a deck. The deck is kind of the only place where you get to pick the entire problem area on your own. So that allows you to show them how innovative you can you can be with identifying problems, how good you are with presenting it. So that was the deck round. The second one was an online interview that I had. That was the Uber search pricing question that I mentioned. So you're working at Uber and your customers are complaining about search pricing. What could be the reason, right? Then when then I had my on-sites in Bangalore. I had 3 more rounds there. The first round was Flipkart wants to get into the flights business. So now we want to sell flight tickets like Make My Trip. Tell me if this is a good idea. And how would you go about doing it? So it's kind of both a product case. So I'm checking if it's a good idea. So I'm looking at the possible profits, the expenses and everything. And I'm also looking at building the platform. How would it be built? So that's also product thinking. Like just an example of how broad the questions can be. One of the smaller problems that came up in this round was what the server costs are. And at this point, I was completely stumped because I was like, I don't know what server costs are. How would I even tell you what the server cost for hosting Flipkart flights would be like? And they refused to give me any clues. And they were like, yeah, okay, what are you going to do? So you can't give answers like, I would go ask somebody, I would Google it. You're completely clueless and you're supposed to come up with a server cost. So like you should know that if somebody is asking you a question like that, it is solvable. There is a way to do it, which is why they've asked you. And the very simple way, so again, like an example of the kind of tech knowledge that's expected of you, what would a server be used for? It would be used for storing data, right? So a good way of drawing parallels would be asking them what Flipkart server costs are and what's the ratio of the data I'll be storing. So if it's 100, then the cost becomes 100, right? So you should be able to think of ways to approach problems, right? Given the constraints you have. The next one was the login problem. Just design a login flow. That's it. And it was a really hard problem. It was really long. And then I had my technical round where we generally just discussed the tech stack of the products I had worked on. So the products that I took to my competitions. So again, that's an advantage. So if you already have a product on your resume, it's likely that they're going to talk about that. And that's something you're actually familiar with. So you will be able to answer well. But if your resume it doesn't really mention many products, they're going to give you an oddball question. And then it's up to you how you handle that on the spot. So my technical round was entirely on the tech stack of my product, which I was very, very familiar with. So yeah.
What advice would you like to give to someone who wants to pursue a career in product management but has no relevant experience as of now?
See, I don't think that will stop you from bagging a good role if you can compensate that with good skills and actually show those skills in the interview, in the recruitment process. Because at least most people I know who got into product roles did not have any relevant experience, right? So a lot of us didn't. A lot of them were not coders. If you are a coder, that's a plus. Otherwise, like if you're just trying to break into this role right away, if you have the time, like if you still have the time before you have to get into placements or whatever, try to get an internship. If you can't, then just go all out. Try to look up product cases, replicate that. So there's this website called Grow the Design. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. So go look at the case studies. So that's the kind of analysis you should be able to do for the products that you use daily. So if you open YouTube, you should be able to break it down into its component parts. And once you know how to apply this, apply it to specific products and reach out to product managers in those companies. Whether you see an opening or not, it's fine. You can keep trying. So if you bag certain interviews and you do really badly, you'll still get to learn a lot. That'll help you. Yeah, that's another thing. Like if you, even if you're going for on-campus roles, I would say try to get off-campus interviews because that will help you really improve. When you get the feedback from these interviews, that will help you improve for the on-campus roles as well.
So Anushka, product management role, the field itself is a very new field and there are many ways to get to it. Like a person can start with APM or a software development role or an MBA. So what do you think about each of these?
Right. Okay, so how the APM program generally works, wherever you get an APM role, not a lot of companies have them, is that So at least for Flipkart, say the APM program is a 2-year rotational program. So this goes for Google, Facebook, everywhere. It's a 2-year rotational program. Okay? And you basically, a rotational program means that you change your teams. So the first year you are in one team, and the next year another team. So say generally you can kind of diversify the kind of experience you're getting. So for Flipkart, I would say the first year I might work in something that's customer facing. So I'm actually making changes to the app that you guys see. And the second time I might work something, I might work in a team that's in supply chain, or I might work in a team that works with the sellers, right? The supply side. So I think for Google, Facebook, etc., the stints are smaller, maybe 6 months, 8 months. But basically, you get to diversify your experience. And at the end of an APM program, you graduate to a PM. You become a normal product manager, right? So in that sense, that's exactly what an MBA does too. But you enter the PM role with no prior PM experience. So you might have been a software developer before, whatever, or you might have gone to an MBA as a fresher, like right away out of college. But you will be entering the same role as an APM at the same level. There's no distinction. So a product manager, I can't, like, you can't really look at the career progress and say if this person entered as an APM or as an MBA. So in that case, if you're very clear about getting into product management, and if you're very clear that this is the profession that you want to pursue, at least for the immediate future, the best bet would be to jump into it directly. Do not think of an MBA. It's not really going to add much of a value. You're going to be saving on that MBA card that you can use later. You're going to be saving on 2 years of MBA money, 2 years of time, and you're going to, like, the APM experience is a lot more relevant to the product manager role than an MBA. That being said, it's also a standard method to go into, say, software development, then get an MBA and move to PM. It has its own advantages. One of the big ones being that, yeah, if you do a software development role here, you can always go for an MBA abroad and then probably transition to a PM role in the Valley or whichever country you want to move to. That's also something you can do as an APM. But yeah, this is a conversation I've had with my seniors before. But an APM is basically a way to kind of fast track your progress in product management, one. And two, yeah, it's more relevant experience. Instead of paying for an MBA, you're earning on the sides as well. So yeah, there's not much of a difference. But if you do not bag an APM role right away, yeah, feel free to pursue whatever you have, like SD or whatever, and then transition to PM either directly or via an MBA. So Kappa says, what if you're uncertain? I honestly do not understand why somebody would be uncertain about PM. Like, it's a very hands-on job. It's very intellectually challenging, rewarding, and it's basically problem solving. It's extremely dynamic. You're talking to a lot of people. There's not much to not like about it. So, like, as a fresh graduate out of college, if you're getting that amount of autonomy, if you are being entrusted with the responsibility of an entire product chain. So, for example, in my current batch of APMs, we've just started like 2 weeks back, and this one guy he's leading bill payments and recharges. So he's leading the entire charter. Like, he's the product manager for that charter. So as somebody right out of college, you are building a product within Flipkart that's that big, of that scale. That's the kind of experience you would not be getting in a lot of jobs. But for some reason, you do find programming to be very exciting, or maybe you're really into core, or maybe you want to get into general management consulting. You're not very sure about the tech side of stuff. It's fine. Like, you can always switch to product management later on. You will have your own opportunities. It's not like it's a train that you're going to miss. It's fine. You can always postpone, get into it later.
So Anushka, you had an IIM Calcutta admit in your hand. Why did you choose APM over it?
Right. So again, that's a very personal choice. So if somebody is really into, say, finance, or somebody is very clear that, okay, I want to work for the big 3 consulting firms, MBB, it makes sense to go for an MBA right out of college if you don't get a good role during your placement. So you can make it to McKinsey. It's fine to go right away for an MBA and get it. But at least in my case, I wasn't sure what I wanted out of an MBA. And like I've said this multiple times before, but like I've come to college, I came to BITS for a 4-year degree, and I joined Tripoli not knowing what to expect. I did not know what I wanted at the end of the 4 years. I had no idea what kind of a job or career I wanted to pursue. Like when I came here, at some point I wanted to get into academia, then I wanted to get into core, then consulting, and now I'm in product management. So I went all over the place because I did not know what I could expect from the program and what I wanted later. So I just didn't want to make the same mistake again. And me going into MBA right away after college would basically be me kind of trying to escape from the entire placement process, because I do not know what an MBA entails. I do not know what I would want after an MBA, what my strengths are, what kind of jobs I enjoy. Do I enjoy dynamic people facing jobs, or would I rather work in a development role or in a back-end role? So yeah, I did not want to waste an MBA in just discovering what an MBA was. So I think like if you can gain some experience before an MBA, basically don't do an MBA if you're not sure. That's not that's not the scale of gambles that you're supposed to make at this age. And I mean, worst case, what's going to happen? So worst case, I realize in the APM job that I should have taken an MBA, and this is not something that I find fulfilling. I can always go for the MBA again. But say I went into IIM Calcutta and then realized that this is not the right decision for me at this point. I can't really drop out of an MBA program 1 year in. That's not the right decision to make. So I figured that I would gather some experience first, realize, like, understand what an MBA was, and then decide if I would want to invest my time and money in that. That being said, something I've realized after coming to this organization is that joining an APM program kind of removes the need of doing an MBA in India in the first place, because you are 2 years later, you're going to be joining the same position that the MBA graduates will. So your fresh IIM ABC graduates will be at the same position that you will be out of the APM program. And generally, like, a lot of them might even have work experience or whatever. So you kind of skip that entire process while learning, while getting relevant experience. So why not? It did not make sense to join IIM Calcutta.
Right. So I think we are done with the general questions. Now we'll ask you the questions which the audience has asked. So one question has come up, which is, can you like put some more light on the off-campus opportunities? Like what all companies recruit in India for internships for these roles, for APM roles?
Right. So for internships, at least, again, you have to get active in those communities. You have to be active on LinkedIn, maybe Twitter. A lot of them post openings themselves. So like I've seen openings for like Urban Clap, Cred. I've seen a lot of openings, Dunzo. But in general, okay, like this is something that I can say from my Spawns experience. Like it's okay for you to like just make a Google sheet, go write down all these fresh technology startups that have raised money recently. So if they've raised money in the past 6 months, go write their names. If like they might be at any stage, series A, B, C, whatever. But just try to reach out to people even when you don't know for sure if they have an opening, right? Because to be honest, there's no way to know. Like you don't know if a company has an opening or not. So like I was working for Graphy under an academy this summer. They really wanted product interns, but they hadn't launched yet, or they hadn't come out into the market with the fact that they're going to launch this product. So they couldn't post in the open key, we want interns for this product, right? So they had to go headhunting. They had to go look for themselves. But there was this other intern with me who was from IIT BHU who had applied. So he had applied for product roles across companies. And it just so happened that Unacademy got this application and knew that, okay, we have a new product, and just forwarded his resume, right? So you don't know which company is coming up with new products, which company needs interns at this point. You kind of have to make a gamble, contact like 50 companies and maybe 2-3 will convert if you're lucky. There's no way of knowing.
Okay, the next question that we received was the comparison between product management and management consulting. Like, what are the differences, etc.?
Right. So management consulting, a lot of it is just solving general business problems as compared to product, where the problems might be a lot more niche. right? So for one, they'll definitely involve technology. So you're not going to be working in the oil sector or pharmaceuticals, right? Unless, of course, it's a very specific product related problem. So you're always going to have the technology flavor, which for me, like personally, I find that to be extremely exciting because one, I've always thought of myself as a generalist, and that's not something I like. I would want to have some sort of a specialization. I would like to have certain set of skills uh, that are not general skills. And management consulting is entirely general. It's high level problem solving, right? You those skills are transferable. You can take them anywhere, apply them to any scenario, and then you get to solve those problems. But I would like to have those specific tech related skills. Two, I personally just find technology very exciting. Like I do not want to work in oil, pharma, or chemical, agriculture, those fields at all. Like I'm not interested. As long as again there is some amount of technology involved. So one thing you have to know is that this product management is not going out of vogue, at least in our careers. Like the next few years, it's just going to get more and more popular. There's going to be more and more demand. It's a very essential role to technology companies. It's pretty exciting, and then you kind of get to do the whole problem solving part of it while staying close to tech, which is again super exciting. So I just want to stay as close to tech as possible. The third thing would be that in management consulting, you kind of build a strategy and then you move on. The company gets to implement that. But personally, I believe a lot of your learnings about what makes a strategy good, what makes an approach good, comes from actually implementing it, getting your hands dirty, and then seeing the results yourself. And those are the sort of learnings that actually make a senior product manager or like more senior product managers more valuable because they know the kind of approaches that might fail. They know how you would implement a strategy best. What are the ways to actually get stakeholders on the same page, right? So uh, I somehow it didn't excite me that I would be thinking up ideas, but I would not actually get to implement it and own the impact. So I would want like that is something that would make me proud when something launches and that I know that this was me, this was my team, and I can go around saying that okay, like this is something that launched and this is mine, right? Like I had a very direct role in this existing. So right, so I just wanted that hands-on implementation part of it as well. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
We'll be taking up the last question from the audience, which is what are the differences between preparing for a product management profile and preparing for some other profile, such as analytics or consulting, and then eventually joining a PM role?
Right. Again, I haven't prepared for an analytics profile. Like I prepared just for consulting and product management. Uh, Again, like as far as recruitment goes, they're very, very similar. The only difference is that there's an additional tech flavor when it comes to recruiting for PM. But yeah, you're looking at the exact same problem solving skills. The guesstimates are identical. There's no difference at all. You're supposed to be well articulated, concise, well spoken in both of them. They both look for that. Uh, I okay, like just an additional anecdote. Like this is not what you asked for, but so in the management consulting versus product management question, there's something I missed. It's also the culture. So like even the recruiting process was really, really different for both of them. Like for McKinsey, I had to wear formals, I wore heels, I wore a suit, and like the office was very immaculate. And there was a guy who was all dressed up in formals, and we were supposed to ask him for tea, so he would get it to us in a tray. So I would have to like tell this guy that theek hai, mere ko ye chahiye. And it was just so somebody started walking around in the office, and they were like, no, just stick to your designated area. So it was all extremely formal. Yeah, so it's a very formal and because it makes sense. It's a client facing job. You're supposed to be at your best all the time. Whereas in Flipkart, we were told explicitly, do not wear formals, wear chappals, wear t-shirts, wear whatever you want. We need you to be comfortable, right? And people actually turned up in chappals. Like the people turned up in t-shirts. That's not something they care about at all. Our interviewers turned up in t-shirts. So in McKinsey, the lunch was a buffet. Like they had a proper buffet, and that was not working out for me because when you're nervous, you cannot eat shahi paneer and naan. Like that's not gonna happen. But in Flipkart, our interviewers came with us, and we all had a pizza party. So everybody was eating from the same plates, and our interviewers were chatting with us. In Flipkart, when we were sitting in a room, people actually asked us, okay, why are you guys sitting in a room? That doesn't make sense. They took us to the gaming room. All of us played like foosball and carom in a waiting time. So for me, at least, I like that camaraderie. I like the fact that I can be friends with my coworkers, and it's kind of a relaxed environment. I don't have to wear formals to work. So that's also something that appealed to me. Okay, coming back to the question, what's the difference between preparing for these roles? You can totally prepare for consulting and product management roles at the same time. Product management versus analytics, I'm not sure. Like, again, you should probably ask somebody who has been placed in those profiles, because I suppose they have aptitude tests and stuff like that. That entire thing is missing from product routes. But a lot of these companies also have those guesstimates and case solving. So basically, if you get good at guesstimates and case solving, that's something that help you throughout your placement process. And yeah, the best way to do that is start early, start now. It's a fun process. Like, it's something you're going to be doing with your friends. And yeah, do it with your friends. Like, actually have interviews, do not read. Do it.
So one last question. Everyone has the imposter syndrome. You might have faced it too. So how did you deal with it?
Right. Okay, again, a lot of it is, for me at least, it's just you have to take risks at times. And then, see, once you have a track record, once you've been consistently trying for stuff and getting results, you always have the track record to kind of refer back to. So if I could do this, I can do this. But I think the most important way I dealt with imposter syndrome was just like having your own cheerleading squad. Like, you need to have this bunch of people who are always rooting for you, and this bunch of people that you can go back to. Okay, I don't believe I'm good enough for this, or everybody else is so smart. How am I going to make it? Can you look at this guy's profile? He has 5 product management internships. How am I ever going to make it? I don't know anything about this. Or yeah, like, this person's smart or whatever. Like, I don't deserve this. Whenever you have those feelings, you need to have this bunch of people that you can go back to and who will tell you, okay, no, dude, like, you're going to make it. You're good at this. Of course, like, you have your parents for that. But yeah, I mean, my wingies, my friends, all of that. Yeah, that kind of helped me get through the whole imposter syndrome thing. Dude, you always have your parents to get back to, but banalo dost, you should know how to communicate to be a good product manager.
Thank you, Anushka. That was very insightful. We got to know a lot about product management through this talk. If we weren't able to cover all the questions in the chat box, you can reach out to Anushka on her LinkedIn. I think she'll be happy to help. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Feel free to reach out. I think I missed one thing. Like, when you're preparing this, there's this framework called Circles. Read up on this. That's something that you can get started with too. So yeah, the framework is just called Circles. That's a standard approach that a lot of us use while solving product problems. And yeah, like, refer to the 3 books I mentioned. Practice with people. Read as much as you can on tech. Baki sab chill hai, like. Best of luck, guys.
Thank you, Anushka. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Bye-bye. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Feel free to reach out to me, guys. Bye.